Georgia? Where at?
At Athens
Oh. Jeff Cunningham?
He was not there when I was there. But he was on the board.
Oh.
Meigs County Bank. Steve Miller.
I remember Steve.
Became
East.
Regions.
No, it was East.
Well, Southeast.
Southeast,
Bank.
yeah.
After he sold that bank, Meigs County Bank, he started Southeast Bank.
And then sold it.
And then sold it.
During the bad economy.
And he just farms now.
Is that
plays
right?
music.
What does he play?
Harmonica, sings.
Is that right? What does he sing, like country, bluegrass? Or?
Yeah, a lot of bluegrass, country stuff.
Are you from Meigs County?
I'm from Dayton.
I was there last week.
Really?
Yep. And I went up to, I did a job in Pikeville. Did you ever go to Pikeville much?
Some, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
did you go over a mountain?
I've got family that runs the Orrin Wooden Orchard Apple Farm.
I didn't go there. I
on
was
the mountain?
downtown.
Okay.
On Dayton Mountain?
Yeah.
Near Summer.
It's on your way to before you get to Pikeville on top of the mountain. If you go across Dayton Mountain.
Summer City?
I don't know.
What do they call it? Summer something? That's where the time changes.
Yeah.
On the top of the hill, there's the water tank, and it says Summer something. Summer City, I think. You know, they have one of the oldest communes that's still active up there.
Really?
Yeah, they have the oldest commune that's still, I guess from the 60s, it still made it, whatever that is. But the Dayton Mountain, they get tomatoes early there, don't they?
They do.
Why is that?
I don't know.
I don't know if they do hot houses or what, but they'll always have. Where were you raised in Dayton?
I grew up on 7th Avenue. That's where I lived. I went to Dayton City School, graduated from Ray County High School, went to MTSU, and then we moved to Athens. And then.
How old were you when you moved to Athens?
It was when I went to work at Athens Federal. I was 25.
Would you move with your husband or with family?
Well, I moved to Athens for my job, and then he followed a year later and went to work at Denso when they opened.
Yeah.
And then after, he was there for 16 years and then went to work at Volkswagen when they opened, and we moved to Cleveland 13 years ago.
Does that seem like yesterday?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, our boys were in 1st grade and 4th grade when we moved here.
It seems like yesterday that Volkswagen came to Chattanooga, but it's been 13 years, I guess, or more.
Oh, yeah, a little more than that.
Dayton, that's a nice town, isn't it?
Yeah, it's grown a lot, actually. They have a lot of really cool little restaurants and
Yeah,
of course
coffee
it's right
shops.
there on the lake.
And that place where they have the old fort, but it's downtown. What's the name of that? Fork and Spoon or something?
Something, I'm not sure what that is.
But it's just like the old fort type
Yes.
food.
We like Jacob Myers, and then there's the Screen Door.
Screen door, yeah. Now, I did build a building there for Dayton Pediatrics.
Yes, I know where that is.
I added on to their building, and funny story, the building, and so we were getting inspections for the building before we could sheetrock. So the inspector came out and he walked through and everything was good, and I said, okay. I had to really get back to Cleveland, so I got in the car and I headed right through Dayton and got a speeding ticket. So I thought, boy, this is a small town. I wonder if I could get this taken care of somehow. So I went down to the police station and I said, could I see the police chief? And they said, just sit right here. He'll be here in a minute. And it was the inspector. I had just left him. And I said, I hate to bother you. I said, I said, I was looking for the police chief. And he said, I am the police chief. I said, you do inspections too? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, I hate ask you this, but I said, can you get rid of this speeding ticket? And he said, well, it'd be kind of awkward if I didn't right now, wouldn't it? And I said, yeah. And so anyway, they gave me a parking ticket. That's a true story.
Wow, really? So have you been to the Strawberry Festival?
No, my wife goes every year.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't been in a long time, but that was kind of like Christmas Day when you grew up in Dayton, Parade Day,
Yeah.
when the carnival came to town. It's a big deal in Dayton.
What about the monkey trial? That's where that was at, right?
Yes.
Was that staged? What's his story about that?
I've heard stories that yes, it was. My grandmother told me stories about peeking in the windows while the trial was going on. She was a little girl. She and her friends would look in the windows, the courthouse. But I've always heard stories that yes, they planned it in Robinson's drugstore, that they were going to have this this trial.
That's become famous, hasn't it? I don't know if I'd like to know the true story about that. What year would that have been, reckon?
I think it was in the 20s, 1920s.
Your grandmother, she was old, I guess, right? So after banking, how'd you get into United Way?
Well, I was a United Way volunteer for a long time. I had volunteered with that was one of my responsibilities as marketing director at the bank, is to be, involved in the community, and I was participated in Day of Caring, which we call Day of Action here in Athens. We called it Day of Caring, and eventually helped with the fundraising campaign and became a board member. And they eventually the position came open for the executive director, and they asked if I was interested. And so it just kind of started from there.
That's a big position, isn't it? Executive director. It sounds important.
Well, yeah, I mean,
You're over the whole thing?
I guess I'm in charge. I'm responsible.
Who was place did you take? That Rankin guy?
Matt Ryerson.
Ryerson, yeah.
Yes.
Where did I get Rankin? Ryerson.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is this, do you say the Ocoee region? How many counties is that?
That is Bradley, Polk, and just a small piece of Fannin County. We got that zip code assigned to us, but
and that's odd because that's in Georgia.
It is.
Does the laws being different make it different the way you handle stuff there, or is it the same?
It's such a small piece of Fannin County that we actually have. There's not really even much there to do. So it's mainly Bradley and Polk that we actually have, that we work in.
Who decides where the lines are?
United Way Worldwide. If they have a piece of a zip code that is not assigned to a United Way, they will assign it. Every United Way operates independently. We're our own nonprofit. But United Way Worldwide will assign zip codes if there's not an area that's covered.
Boy, who started United Way?
Well, it started here in 1938, but United Way as a whole actually started in Denver, Colorado. It was some churches and business people who came together and created what they called the community chest.
Yeah.
And then here it's actually started in 1938, basically the same way. Some churches, business leaders came together. There were still folks who were struggling after the Great Depression, and they wanted to have a community-wide effort, fundraising effort, to raise money for nonprofits who were helping those folks who were still struggling after the Depression.
And so the United Way started due to the Depression, I guess.
A lot of United Ways did, yes, just the aftermath of that. Because, say for example, United Way of Greater Chattanooga, they're celebrating their 100th anniversary this year. A lot of United Ways are. We're not quite there yet.
But the main reason was in 1938 after the Depression. So the Depression was what, 1920?
In the late 20s,
1929?
Something like that, yeah.
So if 1938,
early 30s.
In 1938, the Depression would be more recent to you than Volkswagen coming here. It'd been real soon.
Right.
Then did people they threw cans off the train. Is that right? And then they throw food off the trains like that's where they get the term suffering succotash.
You know, I have not heard that before.
Yeah. Yeah.
They threw food off the trains.
Lima beans.
And people would line up for it, I guess?
They would just run along the trains because lima beans and corn were an inexpensive vegetable, and they would can those, and they would throw them off the train to people, and that's why they called it succotash. So that's why the people in the Depression called it suffering succotash. There was a cartoon about that, remember? Suffering succotash. Who was that, Gwen? Was that Bugs Bunny?
I think that was Bugs Bunny, now that you mention it. I think he said that all the time.
Suffering succotash.
No, it was Daffy Duck, I think.
Daffy Duck, yeah. Daffy Duck. Suffering succotash, because he had a lisp.
Mm-hmm, yes.
I watch a lot of TV. So do you have like a budget for the United Way, or is it?
We do. I mean, we have, basically what we do is we have to assess the needs in the community. What are our most pressing needs right now in our community? And then we have to rally the community to help us try to solve our community's most complex problems. And we do that by having an annual fundraising campaign when we'll set a goal and we'll ask folks to give and rally around that. And this year our goal's $1.5 million. And I think the beauty of United Way is, you know, even if I give $25 and you give $500, you know, we both contributed to the greater good of the community. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how much you give, but you're a part of that. And, you know, we bring together individuals, businesses, churches, schools, you know, corporations to address these needs in our community.
Is there a lot of need?
Yeah, there are a lot of needs. I mean, right now, housing is a huge issue. I mean, obviously.
You mean needing somewhere to rent?
Yes, that people can afford. Child care is a big issue. You know, finding good quality, affordable child care. It's very expensive.
Yeah, we're used to you would see daycares everywhere. Now you don't see hardly any.
Well, they're highly regulated. It's hard to operate a daycare.
I would say it would be so regulated you'd just about give up.
And, you know, finding folks to work that want to work there, and
misunderstandings.
It's just, to me, child care is one of the toughest. You know, access to health care, I feel like we've really made some great strides with that, with Caris Dental and Caris Medical. United Way supports that. They do a great job meeting the needs of the uninsured.
Now, Ocoee Regional Health Corporation, they do that also,
They
right?
do. Mm-hmm.
So, is the board like, it seems to me like I know a lot of people on that board.
You probably do.
How many is on the board?
We have 42.
Golly.
It's a big board.
Is there a smaller board too, or just that, or that's 40?
There's an executive committee, but I mean, it's pretty much the 42 people.
They vote on stuff?
They do. Mm-hmm. I mean, so, it's a completely volunteer-led organization. I mean, we can give our input as, you know, nonprofit professionals, but at the end of the day, it's people from, you know, our community who are making the decisions of where that money is invested and which direction that we go. So that's why every United Way in every community should reflect that community.
It would have to be different than Colorado or
it's very
California, because we would have different needs.
Exactly. And, you know, sometimes that's a detriment to us if someone has not had a good experience or they've heard something from a United Way in another state. They don't take time to learn about our United Way.
Yeah.
Like I said, we are a reflection of our community.
And besides churches, so would y'all give to the caring place also?
We do. We support several of their programs. We actually, we support 41 programs right now. This year, we're funding 41 local programs.
You know, I wouldn't have realized we had 41 programs.
It's 36 agencies. A couple of the agencies, like the Caring Place, we support more than one program, but 36 agencies. There's a lot of nonprofits in Bradley County.
Boy, there is. Would the YMCA be considered nonprofit?
They are. They are. They have the Live Strong program and the YCAP program for youth. Those are two of the programs that they have that we support. And then, of course, Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, that's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah. Of course, I've already mentioned Caris, Foundation House Ministries.
Helping Hands? Is there Helping Hands?
Helping Hands. There's a Helping Hands in Athens, but I don't know.
Helping Hands here might have been turned into the Caring Place.
It may have. It may have.
What about the Solomon? Wasn't there something, the Solomon?
I've not heard of that one.
That was before Caris, I think.
Maybe. But, I mean, there's some really, really well-run nonprofits that are doing a lot of work.
What about Head Start?
Head Start is not funded by United Way. We work with Family Resource Agency as a whole for some of their programs.
Yeah.
But it's not the Head Start program. I think they're funded, government funded.
You know, if you think that we're not somewhat of socialized care, you're not paying attention, are you? Because we do have a lot of that.
You know, I think our nonprofits and, you know, United Way, you know, we can meet these needs locally better than someone who is out of our area, I think, you know, can meet these needs. Not to say that, you know, there are a lot of programs that are needed and that, you know, people rely on, but I think our focus is more on, okay, this is the problem. Why is this the problem with this family? How can we change that and have them financially stable in the future? You know, it's not just a one-time, you know, hey, I'm gonna help you this one time, and then next month you're in the same situation.
That would be more for your local churches, right? I guess.
Yeah. And we do have a program called Akoi Connect, and we do have one. You can have assistance once. One time, like if you're fine, you're financially stable, but you have had some kind of financial hardship, maybe you've got an unexpected doctor bill, you have a car repair that you just can't afford, you missed work 2 weeks because of COVID, or your kid was out of school, we will pay your utility bill that month through the Project Roundup program. We administer that for Cleveland Utilities.
Oh, I see. Now that program is what you round up your electric bill to the cent or to the $10?
To the nearest dollar.
How much does that end up being? How many people do that?
Well, so far this year, I checked the numbers the other day. We've assisted over 400 families.
Golly, from that program. So how many people in Cleveland?
I mean, they have to show they've had some kind of hardship, and they have to show they have steady income. You know, if it's a persistent problem that they're just they just can't, they're not employed, they can't catch up, we will refer them over to the Caring Place, and they have a wonderful case management program where they will walk hand in hand with those families until they get stable. But ours is a one-time.
But the Project Roundup, how many people in Bradley County would round up their electric bill?
You know, I don't know how many people do that. I mean, you can opt out of it if you don't want to, but otherwise I think you're in it. It's just a few cents. I mean, obviously it's less than $1 every month, and you're helping.
But how many people, how much money would that be in a year, I reckon?
It varies from year to year, but it's I'd say it's almost a couple of $100,000.
My goodness, I wouldn't have thought that.
I mean, that's what just goes to show that every penny adds up and can help a lot of people.
See a penny, pick it up all day long, you'll have good luck, right?
That's right.
So 400 people got, that's a lot, and that was all just from people rounding up their change.
Yes.
I often thought if they could figure out a way to lower overall electric bills, it gets staggering, doesn't it?
Everything is
My
staggering
electric bill
right
here is
now.
like $250 a month,
You know, it's
and I'm
all-
not even here except during the day some, and I'm not even here then hardly.
Yeah, it's rough right now. A lot of people, our call volume on Akoi Connect has started going up once we saw the gas prices and the inflation and the food prices. That's when we really have seen the call volume go up. People needing assistance.
See, I don't notice it that much, but if you're, I guess it going up just a little bit is a big deal to some people.
Well, if you're kind of on the edge, if
Yeah.
you're living, you're barely making ends meet, and then all of a sudden everything's more expensive, it can push you over the edge. We have a lot of people here living like that, and that's, you know, we've done a lot of extensive data research on the segment of our community that's above the poverty level. They don't qualify for any assistance, but are not quite making ends meet.
That's not the middle class still. That's the lower middle class, I guess
Yes.
they call them. Mm-hmm. What about the homeless? You can't do much with them because they're not going to a program, right?
Well, we have actually, the United Way has refacilitated the Housing Coalition because every year the regional homeless coalition does what they call a point in time count, and they do it on the same day every year in January. And this year our homeless count doubled, and that's not just Bradley County, that's all the surrounding counties. And you know, we have lots of programs here in Bradley County. I mean, United Way has one called Housing United, where we take homeless, it's called a rapid rehousing program, and we take people from homelessness to housed, and then they go through 6 months of case management with the caring place to make sure they stay stable. And then of course there's City Fields, Habitat for Humanity. You know, there's all kinds of different programs on the housing continuum to help folks. It's just really hard right now to find available rentals. You know, we have a waiting list of people who we could put in a place if they were available.
What would the rent need to be?
Yeah, typically $600 to $700 is what these folks are needing it to be, and that's rare.
So 600 they can afford?
Some. It just depends. I mean, it just depends on what their situation is. You know, we can help them with employment. I'll give you an example. During COVID, you know, this story always comes back to me because it was a single dad who had 2 children and lost his job, and he had been there 7 years, and I mean, just spiraled really quickly, and he ended up living in their car, and
In Cleveland. Where would they park?
You know, I think they probably move around because, you know, I've seen people park at the Greenway Park. I've seen people who, you know, their cars are loaded up at Walmart. I've seen, you know, they don't stay in one place very long. And then, you know, of course, there are a lot downtown. But we were able to find this dad. He got a job with one of our United Way corporate partners. We contacted their HR department. They put him to work, found him a place to live, and you know, he went through the case management with the caring place. And one of the obstacles he had was childcare.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know,
Yeah.
and they helped him find childcare. And you know, now he's working, he's stable, and he gives back to United Way. So it's there have been 45 families that we've been able to house through Housing United in the past 2 years.
But how would they know how many's homeless?
It's the way they do the count. I mean, they go out, they have teams of people who go out and to where they normally have the
And
homeless.
just to ask them, I guess.
And that doesn't count people who are technically what we would consider homeless. Maybe they're staying with someone.
Oh, yeah.
or they're living in their car. They're not they're not even included in this count.
The people that are living in their cars not even in that homeless count, but
No.
if they're homeless. Wonder how you would sleep in a car.
It would be very uncomfortable, very difficult.
With the gas prices now, you'd be cheaper to get an apartment.
You would.
I just don't know if you saw somebody, would the police run them off?
Well, it depends on, the owner of the property. What if they don't want anyone trespassing, yes, they could run them off.
I bet they would run them off the Greenway parking lots.
I don't know.
Because if you didn't, you'd have them everywhere, wouldn't you? Now, years ago, before the Depression, and they had this, what did they just depend on local churches and families? Probably
very similar. I mean, the local churches and
bigger families, maybe.
Yeah, and a lot of there's a lot of underlying issues to homelessness. I mean, it's not just that someone decides they want to live outside. There's a lot of cases where it's drug abuse and mental issues, and so there's a lot of things you've got to look at.
But ours is not to judge; it's just to help, right? I guess.
Like I said, we want them to go from this instability to stability. We and if they need help along the way, I feel like we have a lot of nonprofits in this area who are ready and willing to do that.
We just need somebody to connect. Now, this guy that lost his job, did he come to y'all?
He did. He heard about our program.
He just said, I need help.
We had someone walk in the office and just said, I'm just at the point I'm almost homeless. I've got to help my family. And really cool thing about that is we were able to help him with his utilities, and then we also were able to help him with his rent because the county commission gave United Way $100,000 to help with rent and mortgage assistance this year through the ARP funds. And so we were able to at least keep him in his home for a little while. He knew he had to do something different to support his family. He went to City Fields and went through their welding program that they have, learned a trade, graduated. Several people from our office went and watched him graduate. That's a great success.
Yeah.
Not all of our stories. A lot of our stories end with a good ending, but this one, this gentleman, he learned a skill that'll support his family for years to come.
Are y'all down at the old extension building?
We are in the old Princess Theater next to the old Cherokee Hotel.
Yeah. Was that at one time the farmers extension building or something?
That's behind.
Behind. Yeah. Y'all got the signs painted on the side of the building.
Yes, the murals.
The murals, yeah. What's the pictures of? I can't remember.
One of them is Mr. Don Lorton, who was a big United Way person. I believe one of them is Miss Porter, Ruby Porter. And then
Did Scott Canavas have that painted on there?
No, United Way, that was when Matt Ryerson was here, and they actually received a grant to have that done. And I'm not sure. I think the others are just art.
So how many people work in there daily?
Well, we have 14 on the United Way staff. 3 of them are with the AmeriCorps Vista program. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Boy.
We administer that, and that program, we are able to place what we call vistas in nonprofits all over the community.
What's a vista?
They do a year of service, basically living. They're paid at the poverty level, barely above. Basically, they do get some living stipends and some scholarship money at the end of their year. But they do a year of service.
Well, is that what they're called, a vista? Mm-hmm. But what does that mean?
They're now called AmeriCorps. They used to be called Vistas. I'm not sure what the volunteer in service to America, I think is what that is. One of the things that nonprofits struggle with every day is not having enough staff. You're
Yeah.
trying to run as lean as you can.
Yeah.
This way, we're able to place these AmeriCorps volunteers, staff people,
And they go help the community?
for a year. And we have over sometimes.
Like the Peace Corps, but for
Yes,
communities.
yes, it is like the Peace Corps, but it's here local, and we administer that. We've had them at city fields, we've had them in our office, we've had them at the Hope Center, all kinds of different, the Caring Place. It just gives them a full-time staff person to do some work that they normally might not be able to accomplish. And then, of course, upstairs we have our Center for Social Impact. We have several nonprofits who have offices up there. It's a nonprofit incubator.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And
That's a good idea, isn't it?
it is a good idea. I think I cannot take credit for that, but it's full. We have several nonprofits up there right now, and they pay just minimum amount of rent. And we provide their Wi-Fi, their phone system, coffee machine, break room, meeting space, all that good stuff.
Where do y'all park?
We park at the side of the building and then behind the church that's next door. They
Because the
allow us
building's
to-
not got that much parking, does it?
No.
For 14 cars.
No,
Does the church, that's the one that has the soup kitchen, right?
it is.
Have you ever been in there?
I have.
I haven't been in there. What does it look
They
like?
serve a lot of meals from there.
What does it look like?
Just kind of your regular church.
Has it got a regular
Kitchen.
height ceilings? Is it in the basement?
Yeah.
Does it
It's
look
you go
like-
in the back down the stairs.
Yeah, I've seen them sitting there. Is it like a buffet line or what?
No, it's served in like styrofoam.
They don't go
Meals
through a
now.
line. They just
No.
go sit at the table.
Or they
have
take
you-
it with them. Take it with them. I
Oh,
mean,
they
things
don't-
had
they
to
don't-
change because of COVID. I know
Oh,
they
yeah.
were just passing them out there for a long time. I don't know if they allow them to come in and sit now or not. And, a lot of the people who lived at the Summit ate their meal there. And I think they deliver over there now, if I'm not mistaken,
That Bradley
since they
Cleveland,
moved.
Bradley Cleveland Services does a lot too.
They do.
don't
They do. They do a lot of things.
It's unbelievable. Let me tell you about Capstar Bank. They're located in Nashville, Hendersonville, Gallatin, Athens, Madisonville, Sweetwater, Etowah, and in Cleveland at 950 25th Street and 3855 North Ocoee Street. I've used them. I like them. Give them a try. They're no problem. How do you keep up with all these different programs? Do you have a folder for each program or computer program?
We have software that we track each agency. I mean, I have folders as well because I still like paper, but we do have computer software, and they have to report in. If we choose to decide to fund an agency, they have to report in and meet certain criteria, and they report their results.
Is that come from the main headquarters of United Way, or that's just
No,
something
that's
you
just
do?
us. Yeah.
But you don't have to.
Well, I mean, it's just best practice. We wouldn't want to just pass out, the community's money and not be able to say, hey, we started here, but we've moved the needle here. We've helped this many people change their lives. So this way we track and we can show
And
our donors.
that tracking is a cost too, I guess, right? I guess it's just a minimum.
It's a pretty cheap software.
Maybe it's an old. But you still use the folders, the old system.
I have folders on different, just with notes. But as far as the tracking, as their reporting, it's all online.
Is it like an Excel program or a United Way specific design program?
It's very United Way. It's written pretty much for United Ways. Like I said, the agency can log on. They we have like certain criteria that they have to meet. You've helped this many people. This is how we've done it, and they have to do that every 6 months.
What if somebody says, "Hey, I've got a job, but I can't work because I've lost our babysitter and I don't have daycare"? Where do you send the kids?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, we have people call all the time, especially single moms, that don't have childcare, but they need to work. We try to we have a running list of childcare facilities.
How many do we have?
But most have. That's a good. I think like we had a 40-something maybe licensed. I'd
That's
have to
not
go
many,
back.
is it?
It's not really that many. I know we've got a team of people at United Way that's really been doing a deep dive into the numbers of how many children we have that are, say, birth to 4 years old, how many childcare slots we actually have.
Yeah.
And it's like,
how many can they handle?
Right.
Because it wouldn't matter if they're even there if they couldn't handle it.
I mean, we have some that when we called to do the research that they could actually have more children there, but they don't have the people. They have to have a certain amount of people to have that number of children.
The days of just staying at a relative's house are kind of over with, aren't they?
A lot of people still do that, but a lot of people don't have that option. I have somebody on my staff who's driving her child to Collegedale every day to a child care facility. She's on the waiting list here.
So that's like 15 miles there and 15 miles back.
Pretty much.
And then 15 miles there and then 15 miles.
So it's tough.
I'd say child care is about one of the biggest things.
And it's just it's the cost. I mean, and it's not something you can a service you can provide.
You can't
cheaply.
just write a check for that.
If I'm taking my child somewhere, I want it to be a quality child care center, but they're going to have to charge to keep it open, especially with the regulations. But we're looking at different options. There are United Ways who are addressing that, and West Tennessee United Ways have some really cool things going on with child care. We've been talking with them. Why reinvent the wheel if we can steal their ideas?
And you don't know if they got a good idea or not, really.
We're watching to see how that works for them.
Was there daycares back 40 years ago?
40.
40. I don't remember any.
I can remember, say, when I went to pre-K, but it was like at the high school.
Yeah, in kindergarten. But up until then,
I don't know
where.
You didn't have to have today you have to have the two incomes more so than you probably did 40 years ago.
I guess, yeah. And families are
in a lot of cases.
Families are getting smaller. So 40 years ago, you were likely to have, your mother had four siblings, whereas today,
right?
The families.
Yeah, you're right. My mother did have 4 siblings. My grandmother had 12.
Yeah, so there were of the 12, somebody's available, right?
Right.
I think that with COVID and people having smaller families, I think the population is going to really start to decrease.
I think we're going to see some different trends.
I mean, it doesn't take long. It doesn't take many years for that to happen. All of a sudden, there's just not as many people here, because a lot of businesses are set up on more people and more people and more people.
Mm-hmm.
So
there are a lot of people moving here, that's for sure.
Is it any different, really? I mean, how many people move into Bradley County in a year?
I saw something the other day. For every 100 that leave, 300 new people move here. I don't know what that looked like 5 years ago.
Wasn't it like 1,700 a year? Used to be, or maybe 17,000 every census or something like that. So I don't know if it's any more than it was. But if people are having less kids, then it would sort of even itself out. And how do you encourage people to have kids? Because the new generation just wants to go on a hike and go to Florida. They don't want to raise kids like they did then.
Yeah.
Did you like living in Athens?
I did. You know, there are a lot of really nice people in Athens. I have a lot of friends in Athens. You know, we moved here 13 years ago, almost 14 now, actually, in August to be 14. You know, it's really interesting. It's very different in McMinn County right now compared to Bradley County. When I was there just wasn't a lot of growth, and you didn't see all of the progress that you see here.
Well, McMinn's been they're really against debt, aren't they?
It's their thing is zero debt.
It's served them well though, hadn't it? I guess.
Yeah.
Did you ever go to the Midway Drive? Was that the name of it?
Midway Drive-In, yes.
Is it still open, I wonder?
I don't know. Last I've heard it was, they were still showing movies.
I bet
and then it's a flea market sometimes too when they don't show the movies.
I bet that was one business that just never missed a beat during the COVID.
You're probably right.
Because you're already in your car.
You're probably right.
So do you have an office in Polk County or just?
We don't. We just serve that area. We have some organizations there that receive United Way funds, and we do some work there.
So before you were the director here, were you working for the United Way here?
No, I was working for the United Way in Athens.
Oh.
I was the director at United Way of McMinn and Meigs.
What's their budget?
They raised, the last year I was there, I think it was almost $750,000. So it's about half of what we raise here.
Is there proportions more than we'd raise here per population or whatever?
Their population, McMinn County's population, is about half the size of Bradley. So, I think we've got room to grow here. I think our campaign has room to grow.
Well, if you were going to give or donate, wouldn't it be better just to say, well, I give to United Way, so I'm good? Let them divide it up?
Well, that's kind of what United Way was started. One of the reasons, obviously, was to help folks. But, you could give one gift to United Way, and it helps all those, it's divided up in those 41 programs.
And you got somebody administering it.
Volunteers. We have over 70 volunteers that are reviewing all of these agencies. They are, if you want to receive United Way funding, you go through a pretty in-depth process to receive it. Because it's the community's money. You're giving your hard-earned money. And so we divide those 70 some odd volunteers up into teams, and they review 2 to 3 agencies each and decide whether their program is actually helping folks and needs to be funded by United Way. Are they efficient? Are they accountable?
Is there a need for that?
Is there a need? Mm-hmm,
what would you say is the biggest need we've got in Bradley County?
I would say right now, being able to house people and keep them housed. That and the child care. Like I said, I feel like we're doing pretty well with the access to medical care. I think we're doing pretty well with feeding people. There's so many churches, so many groups, and so many people in this area just wanting to help. But there are some very complex problems out there that we're trying to address.
Can you tell me about them?
Well, I've already talked a little bit about the housing and the child care. And transportation is another issue that I don't think a lot of people think about, but it's hard for some people to get to and from work if they don't have reliable transportation.
Can they ride the Sethra bus?
Yeah. The Sethra bus, you have to reserve your spot. It is very affordable.
You have to call
ahead.
You can't just get on the bus.
If you start in a job, typically in manufacturing, you're pretty much going to start on second or third shift. And I don't think those buses run, those evening and late night
Oh, you
shifts.
think it's just during the day?
Yes. And
So-
a lot of, it's very beneficial, I think, for senior citizens. They can schedule those buses for their doctor's appointments,
They're
in
more
advance.
scheduled. They can schedule.
Right.
So the Settlers really doesn't do that good for a guy that's trying to get to work
I
and,
don't think
and pick
that's-
up kids.
Right. If you're trying to get to work every day, that's probably not your most reliable form of transportation.
So what's the answer for that?
Oh, that's another tough one that we're trying to figure out. We're trying to look at other, areas of the same size as our area and see what they're doing. I've had a lot of different things. What about the school buses when they're not being used? What about church buses when they're not being used? Ride share. There's a lot of different ideas out there. It's just putting it together.
Maybe if you had somebody that liked to drive and run the taxi and had somebody that sitting at the headquarters directing them.
There's some United Ways that give vouchers for Ubers and Lyfts, for folks to use to get to and from work until they can get their vehicle, repaired or whatever.
Can you imagine starting from scratch, not even having a phone?
No.
I mean, a cell phone would be at the bottom of your list, wouldn't it?
Probably, but it's interesting that we, in this study that United Ways commissioned about the folks I told you that were still above poverty but not quite making ends meet, they have put a cell phone as part of their survival budget because you pretty much have to have a cell phone for work.
And to fill out job applications
Exactly. So, my husband's at Volkswagen and he has an app where he schedules his time off, his sick days, or whatever.
From his phone.
Right.
You couldn't do that if you didn't have a phone.
If you didn't have a phone or a computer or something.
Well, a phone is almost becoming a utility, isn't it?
Now there are some services out there where you can, if you qualify, you can get a free phone.
But you got to be broke, right?
Pretty much, yes.
Wonder what kind of phone they send you.
I don't
Obama
know.
started that, didn't he? That was a pretty good idea. They really needed phones.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of phone that they get, but that's you can get it. I think there's pretty much access to a phone if you need it.
Does the public library, do y'all help them in any way, or is that?
No, we don't partner with them. They don't receive, United Way funding. It's just not part of our mission at this point.
There's a lot of homeless there in the mornings. They go to the bathrooms and wash up, I guess.
Yeah.
They'll be lined up as they open the door.
The Salvation Army also they have showers and they have meals, and Ruthie and her group do a great job.
They do. She
well.
really tries hard, doesn't she?
She does. She works very hard. My first experience with her, I had only been here a couple of months in this job, and when the Easter Sunday tornadoes came through, so we were working alongside Salvation Army and the Caring Place to try to help those folks.
When you say they need housing, 3 bedrooms, or just can they take some of these older motels and make them 1 bedroom of studios?
We've looked at that. There are models of that. Now, if they have children, they need a 2 bedroom. But there are models where they've taken hotels and turned them into, like you say, little studio apartments.
Why would you need, if you're down on your luck and you're really struggling, why would you have to have 2 bedrooms? I know it'd be nice.
It would be nice, but you could make, I guess
it's not
use
illegal,
what you
right?
have.
I know now. Sometimes if you're a divorced father, you can't keep your kids unless you have 2 bedrooms or something, or maybe it's 3, something like. No, each child has to have a separate room. I know that's a good idea, but how can you solve everything, right?
A lot of those places that are where they've taken the hotels and made them into studio apartments are more transitional housing. They're there until they can find
Well,
just a suitable place.
they've got so many building regulations now. If you was to do much to it, they'd want you to tear the building down. So you just literally have to take it in its existing form, the way it is. Because if you tried to modify it, they'd want you to handicap accessible the whole
I'm
building
sure.
and change the fire codes and all this other stuff.
I'm sure.
So, but it seems to me like if housing is a real problem, I bet you tonight there's how many motel rooms vacant? 500
I don't know.
in Cleveland. So there's where they can stay.
Well, a lot of hotels do work with us, and we do. It's a very expensive way to house people. They're not going to give us the room for free. Some will give a discount, but they're not going to. It's not going to be for free.
It's not going to be $500 a month or something.
No, probably not. So
Some of these older motels might end up being more profitable at that than they would trying to rent it by the night.
possibly. Like I said, there's some pretty cool models out there. We're watching. I know Chattanooga's doing that. Some of that. They haven't started yet, but they've talked about the city and turning some old hotels into transitional housing.
Yeah. That's what they are anyway, some of these old ones, aren't they? So what else is new on the United Way
I
front?
haven't mentioned our partnership with the Bradley Cleveland Public Education Foundation. Lynn and her,
Not
those
Lynn.
folks.
Is that her
Lynn
name?
Bowles. It's Lynn Bowles. Is their director. They do some
Kathy
amazing.
Barrett.
Kathy's with the Community Foundation,
okay.
but she just retired.
Oh, did she?
She did.
Who took over her job?
Lisa Guerin. I think she used to be with the Better Business Bureau, but she'll do a great job.
Linkous, you're not related to Connie Linkous, right?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Was your husband? Oh, he wasn't a Linkous from here then.
He was from Christiansburg, Virginia.
How in the world did he get here?
His father came to work with TVA. He grew up in Spring City.
I built a building in Spring City too.
Oh.
You can't hardly get to Spring City, can you? It takes a long time.
It does. It's just not close to anything.
And it's when you get to Decatur, you still got a little ways to go.
You do.
And then there's nothing close over there. Everything's.
But it's pretty. It's really pretty.
It
on the
really
lake.
is. It's really pretty, and it's not hard to get to if you're going from the interstate. You go across and up,
Right.
but it's just hard to get there from here. Sales phone doesn't work and all that stuff. Hello, I'm Dee Burris, and most of you know me as a general contractor. In October of 2020, I started a podcast that I call The Discussion with Dee Burris. Each week, I have conversations with interesting, informative, and fascinating people from Cleveland and Bradley County and the surrounding areas. You can watch the discussion at deeburris.com on YouTube and Facebook, where we would ask you to please subscribe, it's free, for updates and notifications of new shows. It's no problem. So besides United Way, is that your whole life, or do you have a life outside of that?
No, I have a little bit of a life outside of United Way. I'm a runner. I like to work out. Now I have two boys who are in college. That, you
Where do they
think
go?
that once maybe they get out of high school, it's not as busy, but it is.
That ain't true. Where do they go?
My oldest son is a senior at Lee. He'll graduate in December.
Mine goes to Lee.
And then my youngest will be a sophomore at UTC this year.
So they've gone two different places?
They have.
Well,
my oldest, he played golf at Lee. I mean, he loves Lee. That's where he wanted to go and play, and worked hard to get to be on that team and all that good stuff. But my youngest decided to go to UTC.
Why didn't he want to go to Lee, reckon?
I don't know. I don't know. He was just kind of set. It may have been because he had friends and they all went down and lived in the dorm, and you know,
You know, it's funny how they start thinking what they want to do by that age more than they act like, don't they?
And I think he likes to do things differently than his older brother sometimes too. You know, doesn't want to exactly fall into the same footsteps. So I don't know.
Did they go to Cleveland or Bradley? Or
Cleveland. They both graduated from Cleveland.
Now, when you say you run, do you run like every day or what?
I run at least 3 days a week, and then do some strength training 3 days a week.
You have a trainer?
I do not. Right now, I'm actually doing.
You're in shape, I can tell.
Right now, I'm actually doing an old Jillian Michaels 90-day workout.
Jillian Michaels, who's that?
She used to be on The Biggest Loser, and she has an app, and all her workout sessions are on there. And
you do it at home?
This is 90 days.
You
Yes, I do it at home. That works really well with my schedule.
Well, you got a TV or a computer you turn on?
I have just a little tablet, and I have the app on there. And
We just set it up?
I set it up and watch it.
What's her exercise like?
It's a lot of strength training. It's a lot of cardio, weights. I mean, it's trying to, have more agility, strength training. I've got to have all that being in my 50s now. So.
Do you have to have weights right there with you when you know what you have to have?
Yeah. You choose what weight you want to use, and then the also the resistance bands. She uses those as well.
So what time do you do that on those 3 days?
Usually after work, just in the evening. And then if I have something that I have to go to that night or whatever, I'll get up and do it in the morning before work.
So it's 3 days a week, no matter what, pretty much. Mm-hmm. And then 3 days you jog, run or jog.
Yes, run. Oh, jog. Jog.
Where at?
Usually the Greenway.
Where do you start?
Over at the Greenway Park. There across from Cleveland High School.
Oh yeah, with the pavilion. Mm-hmm. And you go south or north? South,
Depends.
I guess, right?
Usually go south. Saturday mornings. That's a long run day. I'll go both ways. So.
How many miles is that?
I think the whole thing is close to about 8 miles. I'm not running that much right now. It's too hot. But I'll
Even
get
in the mornings, it gets hot around 8:30, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
After you've done exercise like that, it's like a drug, isn't it? As far as the way you feel.
Yeah.
If you could put that in a pill, everybody'd take it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't feel good if I miss a day. I mean, I do occasionally, obviously.
It's a guilt, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed after you exercise like that, you're breathing so much better and your energy level and everything?
Yeah, I mean, I can tell a big difference since I've started this 90-day workout that I'm doing.
Where does she get 90 days?
I don't know. Every 2 weeks it gets harder, though. I'm on day 65.
I guess they want you to quit before 90 so you won't blame the program.
When I get to 90, I'm going to take a week off.
You know who the first person that started doing that? I think. Was it Jane Fonda?
Jane Fonda or Richard Simmons?
One of the two. Wasn't it? Richard Simmons might have been before her.
Yeah,
That
possibly. I just remember that on TV as a kid.
A lot of people wouldn't watch that Jane Fonda thing because they thought it was too risque. And that times have really changed, haven't they?
Yeah.
Now they just work it. Now they ride down the Greenway, But I always thought maybe being in a gym would be more regimented than doing it at home. But the 90-day thing is, do you have to pay for it?
I think I pay like $4.99 a month for the app.
That's just 3 months, right?
Yeah.
What about yoga or Pilates?
I do some yoga in the morning. I try to do that when I get up. I've done Pilates. I haven't done it in a long time. Mainly the running and the videos right now.
Yeah. No sports besides that?
No, no. I don't have time for anything else. Everybody else in my family plays golf. But maybe someday I'll
Golf
learn.
is very frustrating.
Yeah, I don't think I have the
It's so
patience.
frustrating. It's so frustrating. Now, Sundays you don't do none of this stuff, right? None of that.
No, I work out on Sunday. Friday is my day off.
Oh, why Friday?
I don't know. I just don't want to work out on
Yeah.
Friday after work.
Yeah, after the long week, I
Yeah,
guess.
I like to have that day off.
You go to church here in Cleveland?
I do.
Whereabouts?
Broad Street.
Oh, it's right downtown. Mm-hmm. Methodist.
Yes,
They've got a daycare, right?
they do. That's a parents' day out. But it's not full time.
Oh, they don't have like I thought they had a kindergarten there.
No, I don't.
Didn't they used to?
They possibly did years ago, and I don't know about it. But right now, I think it's just a parents' day out.
Oh, so was that like one day a week?
2, I think,
So you take your kids and they'll watch the kids while you go to the movies or something?
or work or whatever you got to.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if you're working from home or working, get to run errands or whatever. I guess they can do that.
What do you think about the Greenway in the mornings? You say you run mostly in the mornings?
No, in the evening.
Oh, the evening, except Saturday morning.
Saturday morning, but during the week I run in the
Oh,
evening.
is there many people on it on Saturday mornings?
There's quite a few.
Will you pass 20 people?
Oh, well, it depends on the weather. You know, in the summer, spring, summer, you're going to see more.
You feel safe?
Winter.
You feel safe?
Yeah, I mean, I always have felt safe.
No weirdness or
But
nothing?
I mean, I don't go after dark.
Or, yeah. In the winter, do you get out there when it's 38 degrees?
I have, yes. I actually like to run when it's cold. I would rather run when it's 35 or 45 than 95.
You wear gloves? Mm-hmm. Mask?
No, I don't wear a mask. No.
I don't like my nose to get real cold.
No, I don't either, but I can't run with a mask.
And if you ran with a mask on the Greenway, people would they'd get scared, wouldn't
That's
they?
true. That's true.
Now, your oldest son, what's he going to be?
He's going to be an accountant, supposedly. He's going to graduate with an accounting degree. And he is actually going to do an internship with HHM, the new accounting office.
Oh,
Downtown.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Boy, that's a major renovation they're doing
it
in
is.
it, because
It's going to be really nice.
there wasn't even hardly a floor in it.
Yeah.
Downtown Cleveland, do you think it's going to grow or die?
I hope it's going to grow. I mean, I think they've got some good ideas. I hope it's going to grow.
Do you think that, some people think that there's just not enough traffic down there to sustain?
I don't know. There seems like there's a lot going on each day downtown.
Do you eat lunch downtown?
I do sometimes.
You eat at Gardner's or where?
Cafe Roma sometimes.
Boy, that's good.
Gardeners pick up
Isn't it? You
something.
ever get the cheese board?
No, I haven't had that.
Boy, it's good. It's expensive too. You're almost full after you eat it. But
I've
Gardner's
seen it, but
is
I've not had
good.
it. Yes.
But they were closed for COVID like the whole time. Mm-hmm. They just opened up a few months ago.
Yeah, you're right.
Did y'all have to close down, or what'd y'all do?
We worked remotely for, I believe it was about 5 weeks. But then we couldn't operate as well as a team with what we do. So we came back in and we were just very careful. I had to quarantine at one point, because my son brought COVID home, but we knew we were needed during COVID.
Especially.
We have a Koi Connect, which I've already mentioned, that assistance hotline. And before COVID, we were, assisting maybe 24 families a month using the Cleveland Utilities Project Roundup funds. And then COVID hit, and that summer we hit a height of 40 some odd calls a day. people calling in needing assistance. All the retailers and people who worked in restaurants and, who were closed down and lost their income. And then, a lot of people, corporations, businesses, gave us funds and trusted us to distribute to those families in need during COVID through a Koi Connect.
Did they give you that money just out of the goodness of their heart?
I think they did. I think they knew there was a need. And, there were a few, that had to, manufacturers that we had their family members.
Yeah.
Who maybe one was still working, but the other was not, and they couldn't make ends meet. And so we were able to assist them.
Besides the hospitals, I guess you were on the front lines, maybe.
I think we probably were. I like to think that we really helped a lot of struggling families bridge that gap from that hardship back to stability during that time.
Did you make the decision, we got to go back to work? Mm-hmm. You were
I think we just knew we had to be, we were operating, but we just, that day-to-day interaction with our team and sharing ideas and,
somebody's got to answer the phone.
We can have the calls transferred to, Miss Darlene. Her, she's our executive assistant. We had those calls transferred to her phone at home, but it's just not the same. Like I said, there were a couple of times where we all wore a mask when we were in a meeting or whatever we had to do, but we made it work.
How long had you been there then?
I started on February 18th of 2020, so about a month, 2 months. It was an interesting start. That's for sure. We had that, and we had the tornadoes, and we were trying to assist a lot of people. And
which happened first? Was it the tornado? No.
I want to say COVID had really started. I don't remember. I remember going out to the Central Command the day after the tornadoes, where they had the set up in a parking lot at a church, and we weren't wearing masks yet, but it was, I think we were all aware of COVID at that point.
Boy, you were really thrown into it, weren't you?
Yeah, it was challenging.
Plus being at a bigger...
Right, at my United Way in Athens, it was myself and 2 part-time people. We were just a much smaller organization. The good thing is I did learn about all departments because I had to do it myself. I knew all about the allocation piece of it.
They just weren't as big, I guess, right?
Right. And now, I have a wonderful team who is doing all of these different positions because we're just a lot larger.
Boy, that was a really tough time, that COVID, wasn't it? Was your son, did he have it bad?
It wasn't too bad. He had a fever off and on, and obviously, missed class. And
was that in the beginning?
It was in the beginning.
Was he scared?
I don't think he felt bad enough to be scared.
He just got tested?
Yes. They were having to go be tested frequently for the golf team.
Oh, and so that's how they found it. Well, I guess he'd known somebody else that had it.
Yeah. They had to go weekly.
I never did get it. Did you?
No.
I never did.
If I did, it was, thank goodness.
And I hardly ever wore a mask, except in Starbucks. Because you had to wear a mask to go in there.
Right.
But,
yeah.
Did your husband or your other son get it?
No. No, my husband, we went to New York in January of 2020.
Was that right before? That was when it was just rumored, right?
That's when we really didn't know what.
Yeah.
And we went for the long weekend in January and came back, and he swears that he got COVID when he was there. But there were no tests or anything at that point. But the following weekend, he was very sick.
Well, around that time, I went and rode my bicycle, and this was before COVID was even announced, and I could not hardly ride at all. I couldn't hardly breathe. Mm-hmm. And looking back, that might have been COVID.
You know, we went to the 5 national parks in Utah last October. We did the 5 national parks and hiked and did all that.
Boy, I love it out there, don't you?
It was amazing. But even then, you know, late 2021, you know, there were still a lot of people, many more people wearing masks in that area than there were here. So we had to make sure we took our mask and all that.
Did you go to any of the Mormon places in Utah?
We did not. We just did the national parks.
I've been to Arizona and Nevada.
Been to Sedona?
I've been to Sedona, yeah. Where the cactuses
it's a beautiful
are.
Place.
Boy, it is so hot out there that if you was to stand out, if you were to have cars stranded, you'd die, wouldn't you? If nobody came by.
You know, the times we've been to Arizona, it was February. And then it was October when we were in Utah. So we were not either place in the hottest, you know, part of the year.
I went to Tucson and stayed at a 5-star hotel, and it was really cheap because it was such a hot summer. You couldn't.
Were you able to go out and do anything?
You had to really turn the car on, leave it on, and leave it on when you went through the desert and through the Sedona National Park, and if you were to have car trouble, you'd just die, I guess.
Yeah.
But I went to Las Vegas and drove to Rachel, Nevada. Have you ever been there?
No.
That's the town close to Area 51.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I drove from Las Vegas to Rachel, Nevada, drove 2.5 hours, saw 5 cars. That's how, once you got out of Las Vegas, it's just desolate. And Rachel, Nevada has a population of 6. 6 people. That's where the Alien Inn is. Where they, and I went to the place where the black mailbox is, where there's supposed to be aliens, and drove all the way to that sign that says, "Do not enter," or "Deadly force." And there were, you know, like you see on TV.
Yes.
There was a gray truck right on the hill. I could tell there's 2 people in it. There were no fences or nothing, but I just backed up and left. And me and my cousin went, and we took a picture every hour of our trip, just for memories.
Yeah.
And none of the pictures that were in the area of 51 developed.
Really?
It was one of those cheap disposable cameras.
Wow.
That was the weirdest thing. That's the truth, too.
You know, when we were driving from from each national park to the other, you'd be out, you know, no cell service, nothing. That's a weird feeling. And then I finally told my husband, I said, you know, we grew up, we went everywhere without a cell phone. We need to just chill. But it's a strange feeling now to be out like that, and there's no other cars around.
None.
No cell service.
They say if you stand on a Coke can, you can see another 6 miles. Because it's so flat.
I mean, you know, each area was totally different. I mean, from one park to the other.
And the mountains will look like they're right there, and you just drive for an hour and you're no closer. That's the weirdest thing. But I love it out there. To me, I like it better than here.
Well, this is a beautiful area, but that's a different kind of beautiful.
There's a place out there in Arizona that's called Sapporo. That's an Indian reservation, and you have to get there. The only way to get there is through an 8-hour hike.
Really?
And it's the most what do they call it? The least populated place in the United States, because the only way to get there is through hiking, and there's like 800 people lives there, and I'm gonna go stay there one weekend. I saw it on Google Maps, and the only thing they had I recognized was a Dollar General.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, the other place that we've been that I think rivals as far as beauty is we went to Seattle, and we rode the Amtrak train up to Vancouver, and that's amazing. that was beautiful. But I think East Tennessee's pretty great too.
Was Utah, was it as mountainous like Nevada? I guess it was real
It
close,
was.
right?
I mean, you would have stretches that it was just super flat, but you could see the mountains in the distance.
There's very little difference between Utah, Nevada, and Arizona, I think. It's Arizona, you get more cactus, and and Nevada, you get more rocks.
But
And
you know,
Utah
the
is
different,
more sand, right?
well, no, there's a lot. It just depends. Like Arches National Park, it's a lot more of the red rock.
Yeah, Red
And-
Rock Canyon, I think.
Right, and then Canyonlands, it's totally different as well. And then we went to Bryce, which is really red, and you know there's more vegetation, trees, and things there. And then Zion, we went to Zion. And it's you know, and the temperature change from one to the other. Like we
Yeah.
started out in Bryce one morning, you know, it's 45 degrees, and came back to Vegas to catch our plane, and it's 90. So, you know, just big changes in temperature.
You know what I noticed? You could go out to the areas outside of Las Vegas and you drive by a house that had their laundry hanging on a clothesline. And then you drive 45 minutes back into town and somebody's betting $2,000 on the turn of a card. That's
Yeah.
a real difference in
There's
textures of
definitely,
life, isn't it?
Income disparity.
Yeah. and they're wearing a shirt that's costs more than their, $5,000 shirt or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just crazy, isn't it? There's a big difference between, don't you think the divide between the rich and poor is getting larger and
Everything I
larger?
read, yes, it says yes, that it is. The middle class is shrinking.
It's getting just a wide range, and when it gets that way, I don't know how to stop it, but you have to have everything kind of equal, or you know.
If you want residential or commercial plumbing, give Rick's Plumbing a call. Call Jason or Josh. They'll do you a good job. I use them. I've used them for years. They're no problem.
Come on, woo! One, two.
You know, I mentioned earlier the report. It's actually called ALICE, and it's Asset Limited Income Constrained Employed. You know, it's folks who are employed full time, working hard, but they still can't make ends meet. And the last study that came out on that, a new study will come out next year, and I think it's going to change even more so because of COVID. It will have all of those numbers in it. But pre-COVID, 41% of people in Bradley County were at that ALICE or below. They were either at the poverty level or at this ALICE level. So I'm anxious to see next year what that looks like now.
That's the Alice report. That's interesting.
The United Ways throughout Tennessee commissioned this report. A lot of different states, their United Ways, have commissioned this report, and it's by county, so we can drill down into the data here in Bradley County and Polk County.
If
You know,
got-
I remember McMinn County, that number was 46%.
that's a big, and you said Bradley County is what, 41?
41%.
41.
They can't meet a survival budget. 41%.
And we're not talking about trips to Utah. We're
talking about rent, childcare, you know, your electric bill, your fuel for your car, your cell phone.
And you didn't
yeah.
mention planning for the future.
There is no savings
Nothing.
in that. No.
Boy, it's really scary how you take somebody that's working at a job and they've been there for a long time, and the employer's not going to pay them anymore because they're already working there. And why is he going to pay them more? And they don't want to leave and go try out a new job. They might not like it.
I think there has been some increase in income for companies to stay competitive and keep people.
But
But it's been offset by all these,
what they call those trailing leaders or something in economics, where the income's rate, the pay rate is the last thing after the economy goes up.
We're fortunate. I think there's still lots of jobs out there, and they do seem to be paying more. It's just that groceries are a lot more expensive, and your gas is a lot more expensive.
Where would you go to get a job today?
I think you could probably walk into any of our manufacturing plants and get an entry-level job. I mean, I know Walker, Amazon, Jackson, Whirlpool. I think they're all hiring.
It'd be interesting to see if you were going to do that, you'd have to download the app, apply online. It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think most you probably have to apply online. Of course, some you go through you start out with a temp service.
Right,
You don't even get hired at the actual, by the actual company to begin with.
And that is probably lower than what you're making at your current job, is my guess.
Probably.
So you'd actually have to say, if I'm going to better myself, I'm going to have to take this temporary job that pays less to hopefully get on full time to get benefits, maybe.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good point. Is there a ladder there that people can climb?
Right.
To improve themselves,
because you have to give
income.
people
something to shoot for.
You got to give them a sure path. If you're not, they're just better. The devil they know is better than the devil they don't know, I guess.
And I think there's just kind of the overall United Way theme. We see so many people don't see that path. They've lived. You have that generational poverty. They don't see that path. And United Way and our agencies can show them that path. This is how you budget. This is how you, once you get a job, you need to keep it. You need to be there.
Now, see, isn't the way you budget money, isn't that real ambiguous too? I mean, there's a lot of opinions about that too.
There are.
Because somebody would say, well, you need a real good car, and the other one would say, you just need a good bicycle.
Yeah.
So
I think it's all based on, what can you earn right now? And then, what is that path forward? How can you get a skill to be able to make more money?
And right now, you don't have to have a skill. You just have to be on time, dependable, responsible. Mm-hmm. That's about it.
Yeah, a lot of them, if you do that, they will train you. And,
And nowadays, I don't know if there's that much work anywhere other than setting up machines to run, putting stuff beside a machine. If we didn't manufacture anything in America, what would we do?
That's a good question.
What would you do? You'd mow the yard and I'd cut hair. I'd do the laundry and you'd clean my gutters. It would just be servicing each other if we don't actually manufacture something to sell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or you could go into healthcare or education.
But neither one of them is really. I don't know. I've never found anybody that understood economics enough to explain it to me, because it's always changing. If you could, they'd have a handbook by now.
That's right. It is always changing.
It's always changing, always evolving. Most economists will tell you they don't understand it either.
I think it's your best guess what the future is going to be.
I think that's it.
Your best guess for the next 6 months.
If I was going to be a person and
educated guess,
I would go into robotics. I believe that within 10 years we'll have there'll be a robot that walks around here and turns the lights off and opens the door in the morning, and I believe that'll be a standard in all houses.
You can just about do that with, the technology now. Turn your lights on and off. And
Yeah.
all that good stuff from your phone. You've got the right technology.
I was watching a thing yesterday talking about the how robotics are going to change the world. They said that there's one thing that a robot can't do, and you won't believe what it is. It can't fold clothes.
Of course.
Because there's so many different types of
Different
clothes and
folds,
stuff.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
well, I sure am glad that United Way is here. They're the frontline people to keep people from being on their doorsteps, or, in other words, we don't have to feel too bad, because if we give to United Way, we know that they're assessing these needs and putting the money where they think it is. Does the United Way, you have to send money up the chain?
No, we do pay. We pay a 1% dues fee
And
every
that pays
year.
for this Alice and
And
these
that
reports?
pays for the reports. That pays for us to be able to use the logo. That pays for education for my team. If we go to a conference, a learning conference, or do an online class, we don't pay for it. We use credits from paying that. So other than that, it all stays right here in Bradley and Polk County.
Well, 1% would be what on $1 million?
So we pay about, 15,000, something like that.
But that's good. You have to have that.
Well, and we also, have to, like United Way Worldwide works with the large corporations, what they call global corporate leaders, like UPS and Whirlpool. And, if we weren't a part of United Way Worldwide, we wouldn't be able to partner with UPS and Whirlpool and AT&T and
Yeah,
and
that's
things
right.
like that.
Yeah, because
They help us with those partnerships.
They help you with credibility, I guess.
Right. We have certain standards that we have to meet every year to be part of the network. On top of what our board obviously expects, but we have certain criteria.
What's your average gift to United Way?
Oh, goodness, that's a good question. It's probably not as high as we think. We have a lot of folks who are, giving a couple of dollars a paycheck. I mean, we have some large gifts, but for the most part, it's just people giving payroll deduction. A few dollars, $2, $5, $10 a paycheck.
At factories? Mm-hmm.
Yep. Banks, wherever anyone will let us have a United Way campaign.
So they have to deduct it from their payroll?
They can do that. They can go on our website and give it directly, do a credit card. They can write a check. We'll
put
take
it in those
cash.
little envelopes that has the thing?
Mm-hmm. We work with Bradley County Schools to do Make a Change Day. And all the students bring in their change to donate one day for United Way, and it goes to children's programs like after school with the Boys and Girls Club, the Sack Pack program at the Caring Place. So this year, we're counting the change at the bank, and it's running it through, and we had this little Ziploc bag, and there was a piece of paper inside that said Ben's ice cream money, and so this little boy named Ben turned in his ice cream money. It's just that just goes to show every penny counts.
Do you ever get wrapped up in it too much?
Do I get wrapped up in? Probably. It's easy for us to be in our United Way nonprofit bubble and understand, the needs. I think sometimes I can remember I had 5 years that I stayed home with my boys. Many, many years ago. And when you're going about your day-to-day life, you don't necessarily know what those needs are, or you don't think about it every day. But, we're working in it every day. And I think sometimes it is. It's not something that you can just leave at the office door in the evening, because there's so much need and there's so much we can do.
Yeah.
And you want to tell people our story and, why United Way's great.
When is the yearly campaign?
It starts in August. We have our Day of Action coming up, July 29th. That's our biggest volunteer day of the year. We'll have 300 volunteers that go out into the schools, into nonprofits doing volunteer work. So anybody that wants to sign up for that can go to our website. There's still time to sign up for that. And that pretty much officially kicks off our annual fundraising campaign.
So that's from August to the end of the year?
It actually goes on into about January, sometimes February now. We would love to have all our money raised by the end of the year, but there are some that have to wait to do their campaigns in the
And
in
all
the
your
first of the
money's
year.
what, $1 million what?
1.5 million is what we want to raise. We raised $1,429,000 last year.
Has it gone up every year?
It went down for several years.
When was that?
It was
In the
a few years
08, 09?
before. Now I know at my old former United Way, yes, recession really hurts United Way.
Yeah.
I mean, it took a while to come back from that. This United Way, I'm not sure. I know the last 2 years this year we were able to get it back on the uptick. It went down during COVID. Kind of our bread and butter is going out and talking to folks and saying, okay, this is what we do, and these are what the needs are. Will you give to help? And we couldn't do that because of COVID. We couldn't, go out and talk face to face to people. But we were able to do a lot more of that last year, and our campaign's back on the upswing.
If somebody just wanted to write a check and bring it down to the office without going online, they can do that?
They can do that.
Wouldn't that be the easiest thing? Just come by there and drop off a $50 check or
It
something?
would be great. We would put it to good use, that's for sure. That's what United Way used to be. Is we were just a fundraiser, but we're so much more than that now, with our own programming and meeting needs and trying to find solutions.
You've got a good voice for speaking, you know it?
I think I've got
have
the
a
good
clear-
East Tennessee
You got
twang,
a very
don't I?
clear voice.
You can tell where I'm from, right?
Is Ford your maiden name or what?
Yes,
So what's your middle name?
Jane.
Stephanie Jane Ford Linkous.
Yes.
We're glad you're out there.
Thank you.